The council chamber was silent, heavy with fear. Alien leaders from 40 different worlds sat around a long, circular table, eyes fixed on the glowing hologram above. It showed planet after planet burning, fleets destroyed, entire systems falling one by one to the Zorth Dominion. The galaxy had never seen such destruction before. Council Prime Lorith cleared his throat, his voice trembling. "We are losing this war," he said. "Every fleet we send is destroyed. Our last hope is Earth." Murmurs rose among the delegates. A tall insectoid leaned forward, his voice sharp. "The humans? They promised 8 months ago, yet we have seen no sign of their fleets." "They are coming," said a calm voice from the far end of the table. All eyes turned to the human ambassador, a woman named Serena Ward. She stood slowly, her face unreadable. "One fleet will arrive soon." The council erupted in disbelief. A lizard-like warlord slammed his fist on the table. "One fleet? We need thousands. The Zorth are a storm that consumes everything." Serena met his gaze without fear. "One fleet is all we need." Hours later, the Coalition's last defensive line waited near the Kepler Gate. Hundreds of alien ships floated in formation, preparing for what they believed would be their final battle. Many captains whispered that the humans had abandoned them. Then, without warning, space rippled like water. 80 black, silent ships appeared in perfect formation. They didn't look like war machines, yet the very sight of them made veteran commanders uneasy. A channel opened on every ship's screen, revealing a woman with steel-gray eyes. "This is Admiral Helena Voss," she said, her voice calm but powerful. "Follow our lead. Do not break formation. If you do, you will die." Alien officers exchanged uncertain glances, but fear of the Zorth outweighed doubt. Moments later, the enemy arrived, a vast swarm of 1,000 warships, their weapons glowing with energy strong enough to shatter worlds. The Zorth commander laughed when he saw the humans' small force. "Pathetic," he hissed. Then the humans fired. At first, it looked unimpressive, tiny flashes from their ships, nothing compared to the glowing storms of plasma from the enemy. But seconds later, holes appeared in Zorth battleships, cutting through shields and armor as if they were paper. Enemy vessels exploded one after another in a deadly silence. On the Coalition bridge, a stunned captain whispered, "What kind of weapons are these?" Admiral Voss's voice came through, cold and certain. "The kind that ends wars." Within 20 minutes, the once invincible Zorth armada was burning wreckage drifting in space. Not a single human ship had taken a hit. As the alien crews stared in shock, Admiral Voss spoke one final sentence before vanishing back into hyperspace. "Remember this day. One fleet is enough. But Earth has more." The battlefield was silent now, littered with the burning remains of Zorth warships. The alien coalition forces floated in stunned disbelief, their crews barely able to process what they had witnessed. On the flagship of the Altarian Navy, Commander Zern whispered to his first officer, "One fleet. 80 ships, they destroyed an entire armada." His voice trembled. Were the humans really hiding? Moments later, a private transmission came through the Coalition's secure channel. Admiral Helena Voss appeared on screen, her expression calm as ever. "The enemy is defeated," she said. "But this war is far from over. More Zorth fleets are on their way. What you saw here," she paused, her eyes cold and piercing, "was only a warning." Council Prime Lorith, listening from his command center, couldn't hold back his confusion. "Admiral Voss, your fleet has achieved what no other could. If this is your warning, what is your true strength?" Voss stared at him for a long, tense moment before answering softly, "You don't want to know." Then the transmission cut. Whispers spread across every Coalition ship. Some felt relief, others fear. For the first time in galactic history, the most powerful species in the known universe might not be the Zorth, it might be Earth. Hours later, inside the Nexus Station War Council chamber, chaos erupted. Dozens of alien leaders shouted over one another, demanding answers from the human ambassador. Serena Ward stood silently until the noise died down. "Earth has only shown a fraction of its power," she said finally, her voice low. "We fight differently than you. We fight only when there is no other choice. And when we fight, we do not lose. The reptilian warlord slammed a clawed fist on the table. If you're so powerful, why send only one fleet? Why not destroy the Zorth completely? Serena's eyes darkened. Because the moment Earth sends more fleets, the galaxy will never sleep peacefully again. Before anyone could ask what she meant, alarms blared through the station. A desperate voice echoed through the comms. New Zorth fleet incoming. Estimated 2,000 ships. Multiple super dreadnoughts. Panic filled the chamber. Coalition forces had already lost most of their fleets. The single human fleet could not face such overwhelming numbers alone, or so everyone thought. Serena Ward turned to the large viewing window where stars stretched endlessly. Her lips curled into a faint, almost chilling smile. They really want war, she murmured. Very well. She activated a small communicator on her wrist. Helena, she said softly, initiate protocol eclipse. Moments later, across the darkness of space, 10 more human fleets tore out of hyperspace at once, their black holes blotting out the stars. The galaxy had never seen so many Terran warships together. And yet, deep inside every alien heart, one thought struck cold as ice. If one fleet could do this, what would 10 fleets do to the universe? The arrival of 10 human fleets changed everything. From the bridge of the Altarian flagship, Commander Zern watched as space itself seemed to warp under their sheer presence. Thousands of black, silent warships formed perfect formations around the Nexus defense line. Their movements were unervingly precise, as if one mind controlled them all. But before hope could settle in, a chilling transmission pierced every channel. The Zorth warlord himself appeared, a towering figure of steel and flesh, his glowing crimson eyes burning with hatred. You think your humans frighten us? His voice thundered, metallic and cruel. You have not seen true power. You have not seen the Dominion's ultimate weapon. The transmission ended, and moments later, sensors screamed warnings. From hyperspace, a massive structure emerged, a colossal battle station larger than a moon. Its hull pulsed with energy, a weapon capable of tearing planets apart. Alien commanders gasped in terror. Nothing in recorded history had ever been this powerful. Impossible, whispered. That thing, it could destroy entire star systems. The coalition fleet trembled. Even the 10 Terran fleets held position, their guns silent. For the first time, doubt flickered across Admiral Helena Voss's face. She turned to her crew. Deploy the Titan command vessel, she ordered, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. Seconds later, the darkness of space split open. A massive human warship emerged, dwarfing even the Zorth superweapon. Its black surface shimmered with strange energy patterns, like a living shadow. Coalition officers stared in awe, struggling to comprehend the size of it. What is that?" asked an alien captain on open comms, his voice trembling. Voss replied without emotion, "That is the Oblivion-class dreadnought. It was never meant to leave Sol. But today we make an exception." The Zorth warlord's furious laughter echoed across the battlefield. "Your ship is big, human, but size means nothing against our Ascension cannon." The enemy superweapon charged, glowing with blinding light. Every ship in the sector prepared for annihilation. Even the coalition commanders closed their eyes, waiting for the end. But Admiral Voss's voice cut through the silence, cold and final. "Engage Protocol Black Sunday." Suddenly, the Oblivion's hull opened, revealing a swirling dark sphere at its core, a weapon that looked more like a tear in reality than a machine. It pulsed once, and then unleashed a beam of pure darkness. The Zorth battle station never fired. The beam ripped it apart from the inside, shattering its superstructure without a sound. Thousands of enemy ships exploded in chain reactions, erased in seconds. The entire galaxy watched in stunned silence. No one spoke, not even the Zorth warlord, whose final transmission was a whisper of disbelief before his ship vanished into nothingness. Admiral Voss turned slowly toward the alien coalition fleet. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across every channel. "This is why Earth only sends one fleet," she said. "Because if we send more, there will be nothing left to save." The battlefield was silent after the destruction of the Zorth battle station. Thousands of alien eyes watched the dark giant ship Oblivion drift slowly, its black hull absorbing the starlight like a void. The coalition fleets were frozen in awe and fear. Even victory felt like a nightmare they could not wake from. Then the silence shattered. Long-range scanners screamed warnings. Hyperspace breaches, hundreds of them. The Zorth Dominion had not been defeated. It had only been wounded. Now, their true war machine was coming. Waves of Zorth vessels poured into the system. 10,000 warships, monstrous dreadnoughts, and living biomechanical titans never seen before. These were not standard fleets. These were the Eclipsers, the Zorth's most ancient and feared weaponized species, awakened only for extinction-level wars. Their screams echoed across comm channels, a horrifying chorus of rage and hunger. On the Coalition command bridge, panic erupted. A trembling alien officer shouted, "There are too many. Even 10 human fleets cannot hold them off." Fear swept like wildfire through the ranks. Some ships prepared to retreat, but Admiral Helena Voss's face remained carved from stone. "All Terran fleets, hold formation," she ordered. Her voice carried an unnatural calm, even as thousands of enemies surrounded them. Commander Zern couldn't hold back his question anymore. He opened a channel to Voss, desperation clear in his tone. "Admiral, you're outnumbered 100 to 1. How can you possibly win this?" Voss turned her gaze toward him. For the first time, there was no mask of diplomacy, only cold truth. "When not outnumbered," she said. "We never are." Before anyone could respond, the Terran fleets moved differently. Their ships' lights dimmed, hulls shifting as if alive. From their cores, strange pulses of energy radiated outward, synchronizing like a heartbeat. The alien coalition commanders watched in horror as the ships seemed to merge with the darkness itself, their forms blurring, splitting, multiplying. Within seconds, each human ship duplicated, then duplicated again, filling the starfield with thousands of identical Terran warships. "What is this sorcery?" whispered Zern, his scales bristling in fear. Serena Ward's voice came through the coalition channel, calm but unsettling. "Human fleets are not just metal and engines. There's something more. Something you were never meant to understand." The Zorth Armada opened fire, unleashing enough energy to vaporize planets. But the human fleets moved like shadows, impossible to track. Every shot missed. Every strike was answered with devastating precision. It was as if space itself bent to humanity's will. On the enemy flagship, the Zorth warlord roared in fury. "They cannot be everywhere. They cannot be infinite." But they were. The starfield became a graveyard of burning Zorth wreckage. The coalition ships stood frozen, their crews unable to tell how many human vessels there truly were, or if they had just witnessed a terrifying illusion. Admiral Voss's final words cut through the silence like a knife. "You wanted to know Earth's true power? Our fleets are not made of ships. They are made of fear, and fear has no limits." The battle was over, but the galaxy would never forget what it had seen. Thousands of Zorth warships reduced to drifting ash, their terrifying Eclipser titans torn apart like paper. And yet, no one understood how it had happened. On every coalition ship, silence reigned. The alien commanders dared not speak as the black Terran fleets hovered in perfect formation, their cold, starlight-absorbing hulls reflecting no emotion, no mercy, only dominance. Finally, Council Prime Lorith broke the silence, his trembling voice broadcast to Admiral Helena Voss. "Admiral, what are these fleets?" For a long moment, there was no reply. Then Voss's voice came through, quiet but heavy, like the weight of a dark truth finally escaping. "Humanity built ships to win wars," she began. "But the universe kept making bigger monsters. We had to make something more than ships, something the monsters would fear." Her fleet's lights dimmed further, as if reacting to her words. Commander Zern leaned forward, his claws digging into the console. You're saying these aren't ships? Voss's gaze on the transmission screen was colder than deep space. They're not only ships. Each one carries a mind. Confusion rippled across the council chamber. Artificial intelligence? Someone asked. No, Voss said, her voice sharp as a blade. Not artificial. Human minds. Every vessel you see was once a soldier, a volunteer who gave up their body to become part of the fleet. They do not eat. They do not sleep. They only fight until the war ends. Gasps filled the chamber. Horror mingled with awe as the realization sank in. The Terran fleets were not just machines. They were human souls, bound eternally to their ships, living weapons forged from sacrifice. Serena Ward, the human ambassador, finally spoke, her tone grave. We don't build armies anymore. We become them. That is why one Terran fleet can face thousands of enemies. You are not fighting machines. You are fighting warriors, WH. Before anyone could respond, a new alert flashed across the star maps. A massive Zorth signal was detected, bigger than anything before. A final counterstrike, desperate and all-consuming, was heading for the Nexus system. But instead of fear, the humans showed only grim resolve. Admiral Voss stood on her bridge, the ghostly whispers of her fleet's many voices humming in unison, like a haunting choir. This ends now, she said softly, but every being in the galaxy heard her. The Zorth wanted war. We'll give them something they'll never forget. And as the 10 Terran fleets prepared to jump to intercept, the galaxy felt something it had never known before. Not just fear of the Zorth, not just fear of humanity, but fear of what humanity was willing to become to protect its home. The galaxy waited in tense silence as the final Zorth onslaught approached. Across every channel, warning sirens screamed. Sensors displayed a nightmare beyond imagination. A swarm of 20,000 Zorth warships, larger than any fleet ever recorded. At its core, an enormous structure pulsed with dark energy. A living superweapon called the Eternal Maw, a creature engine designed to consume entire stars. Coalition commanders stared in despair. We cannot face this, muttered Commander Zern, his voice hollow. Not even the humans can stop such a force. But the Terran fleets did not retreat. They floated in the void like black phantoms, silent and steady. On the Oblivion-class dreadnought, Admiral Helena Voss stood at the command dais, surrounded by the faint whispers of 1,000 ghostly voices, the minds that powered her fleet. Serena Ward appeared on a private channel, her face grim. Helena, this is worse than anything we predicted. If they reach Nexus Station... They won't, Voss interrupted. Her tone was sharp but calm, like a surgeon before making the first cut. Moments later, the Zorth Armada emerged from hyperspace. The stars disappeared, blotted out by their sheer numbers. Their warlord's voice echoed across the system, cold and triumphant. Humans, you think fear makes you strong? Fear is nothing before hunger. The maw devours all. The creature at the heart of the fleet opened a vast, glowing maw, a sphere of collapsing energy forming within it. Every ship in the sector felt the gravitational pull. The Eternal Maw was preparing to consume the entire star system, Nexus Station, and all life within. Admiral, a human officer said quietly, our weapons won't be enough this time. Voss's expression did not change, but inside, she knew it was true. Even with thousands of Terran war minds, the Maw was beyond anything they had ever faced. Humanity's power had limits, and this enemy was about to break them. Across the coalition channels, alien voices cried out, pleading for guidance, for hope. For once, even the legendary calm of the Terran fleets seemed like a fragile mask. Then softly but firmly Voss spoke. Signal the fleet. Prepare Protocol Revenant. A chilling silence fell among the humans. Protocol Revenant was a last resort, a forbidden maneuver spoken of only in whispers. Serena Ward's voice cracked over the calm. Helena, if you do this, there's no coming back. Voss looked out the viewport, her eyes fixed on the monstrous maw. If we fail, no one comes back anyway. The Terran ship's lights dimmed, their hulls shifting and breaking apart. A strange energy filled the void, cold and unnatural. One by one, the ships unleashed glowing spheres of crimson light, their own consciousness, merging together into a vast spectral entity that dwarfed even the eternal maw. For the first time in history, the galaxy saw not a human fleet, but humanity itself, bound into one terrifying, vengeful force. The final battle was about to begin, and no one knew if anything would survive it. The void was no longer silent. The combined consciousness of the Terran fleets, thousands of human minds bound together, formed a colossal, glowing entity that stretched across the stars. Every coalition ship trembled at the sight. Even the Zorith hesitated, their monstrous fleets slowing as an unnatural chill filled the sector. Protocol Revenant had awakened. From within the spectral colossus, Admiral Helena Voss's voice resonated, not through comms, but directly into every mind present, alien and human alike. "This is humanity's final weapon," she said, her tone filled with unshakable resolve. "We do not use it unless there is no other choice. But today, there is no choice." The eternal maw roared, its vast, star-devouring mouth opening wider. Gravitational waves ripped through space, dragging entire fleets toward annihilation. Zorith warships poured forward like a swarm of nightmares, their weapons blazing. Then, the Revenant struck. It moved like a living god, faster than light, tearing through Zorith dreadnoughts with beams of pure thought energy. Where it passed, space itself seemed to scream, reality bending under the weight of 1,000 fused souls. No weapon, no shield could resist it. The Revenant was not just a fleet. It was vengeance. It was sacrifice given form. But with every strike, pain echoed through the connection. The humans powering the Revenant were burning their very existence to fight. Each surge of energy was a life extinguished forever. No return, no memory left behind. On the Coalition bridge, Commander Zern clutched his chest, gasping. "I can feel them dying," he whispered, horror dawning in his eyes. "Every time that thing fires, another human soul is lost." The Revenant's power grew more desperate, more furious. It lashed out, annihilating wave after wave of Zorith vessels, but the cost was unbearable. Millions of voices screamed in unison, then fell silent, leaving only faint echoes in the void. Finally, the Revenant turned its focus to the eternal maw. The creature engine unleashed a catastrophic pulse, threatening to rip the system apart. But the Revenant reached into the fabric of space, wrapped spectral arms around the beast, and dragged it into a collapsing singularity. The maw shrieked a soundless, psychic scream as it was torn apart, vanishing into nothingness along with the last of the Zorith fleet. The battlefield fell eerily quiet. The Revenant shimmered weakly, its light fading, countless human minds extinguished in sacrifice. Only Admiral Voss's voice remained, faint, tired, echoing through the emptiness. "The galaxy is safe, but remember this cost. Humanity does not win wars, we pay for them." Moments later, the Revenant dissolved into fragments of dim red light, drifting across the stars like ashes. The surviving Terran ships reformed slowly, silent and empty, their crews gone forever. On Nexus Station, every alien leader sat in stunned horror. They had witnessed not only power beyond imagination, but a truth that carved itself into their souls. Humanity was unbeatable because humanity was willing to burn itself to protect everyone else. The aftermath of the battle was unlike any victory celebration the galaxy had ever known. There were no cheers, no triumphant anthems. Nexus Station floated in eerie silence, as if even sound feared to break the weight of what had just happened. Alien leaders gathered once more in the Grand Council chamber. They had watched the Terran Revenant tear apart the eternal maw, had felt millions of human voices scream and vanish in sacrifice. Now, they faced an unbearable truth. Council Prime Lorth finally spoke, his voice weak. "We call them allies, but what have we brought into our galaxy? His words trembled with both gratitude and fear. Are they saviors or monsters wearing human faces? The reptilian warlord slammed a clawed hand on the table. You saw it. There was no fleet, no army. That was extinction given form. No species should wield such power. Serena Ward, the human ambassador, stood quietly, her face unreadable. When she finally spoke, her tone carried no triumph, only sorrow. Humanity never wanted this power. Every revenant strike cost lives that can never return. We did what we had to do. Without us, you would all be dust right now. But at what price? Another alien delegate hissed. Your protection nearly tore the stars apart. Before Serena could answer, a communication alert interrupted the council. A deep, broken signal played over the system. A Zorth transmission, faint but unmistakable. The warlord thought they were all dead. But this was something else, something worse. To all surviving forces, Phase 2 is ready. The pre-march awakens. Humanity cannot stop what is coming. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving only static and dread in its wake. Panic rippled through the chamber. Phase 2. The Zorth are not finished. What is the pre-march? Questions and fear erupted from every corner of the council. Alien officers exchanged uncertain glances, but fear of the Zorth outweighed doubt. Moments later, the enemy arrived, a vast swarm of 1,000 warships, their weapons glowing with energy strong enough to shatter worlds. The Zorth commander laughed when he saw the humans' small force. Pathetic, he hissed. Then the humans fired. At first, it looked unimpressive. Tiny flashes from their ships, nothing compared to the glowing storms of plasma from the enemy. But seconds later, holes appeared in Zorth battleships, cutting through shields and armor as if they were paper. Enemy vessels exploded one after another in a deadly silence. On the Coalition bridge, a stunned captain whispered, "What kind of weapons are these?" Admiral Voss's voice came through, cold and certain. "The kind that ends wars." Within 20 minutes, the once invincible Zorth armada was burning wreckage drifting in space. Not a single human ship had taken a hit. As the alien crews stared in shock, Admiral Voss spoke one final sentence before vanishing back into hyperspace. "Remember this day. One fleet is enough. But Earth has more." The stars trembled as the first signs of the Primarch's awakening spread across the galaxy. Deep in the unexplored void, where no ship dared venture, something vast and ancient stirred. Planets shook, hyperspace routes warped, and even light itself seemed to bend away from a colossal, rising presence. Nexus Station's War Council gathered once more, the tension suffocating. Every alien leader sat pale and silent, waiting for Serena War to speak. She stood at the center of the chamber, her usual calm replaced with something rarely seen on a human face: fear. "The pre-march," she began, voice low, "is not a weapon. It is not even a fleet. It is a mind older than this galaxy. The Zorth worship it as their first conqueror, their god of war. They believe it cannot be killed because it never truly lives." Gasps and whispers echoed around the chamber. Commander Zern slammed his fist on the table. "We just sacrificed millions of human lives to stop the Maw, and now you tell us this thing is worse." Serena didn't deny it. The Revenant was powerful enough to end the Eternal Maw. But the pre-march, she hesitated, glancing out toward the stars. The pre-march commands reality itself. When it awakens fully, the laws of physics bend to its will. It doesn't just destroy armies, it rewrites existence. Alarms blared suddenly. A live transmission came through from a distant star system. The screen flickered to life, showing a barren planet surrounded by a small Zorth fleet. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then the planet cracked in half, not from weapons fire, but as if space itself decided to split it apart. The Zorth ships chanted in unison, their guttural voices reverberating through the transmission. "All hail the pre-march. All hail the end of stars." Moments later, an incomprehensible shape emerged from a black rift in space. It was neither fully material nor energy, a shifting, impossible entity that hurt to look at. The galaxy's most advanced sensors failed to read its size. It seemed larger than worlds, yet somehow closer than any nearby ship. Its mere presence silenced every mind watching. Admiral Helena Voss opened a channel from the oblivion. Her face was carved from steel, but there was a shadow in her eyes no one had seen before. That is the enemy the Zorith truly serve. What we fought before was just the opening move. Commander Zern's voice trembled. Can humanity stop it? Voss hesitated. Then, for the first time in the history of interstellar war, a human fleet commander answered with something the galaxy never expected to hear. I don't know. Across the stars, the Primarch's presence rippled like a storm, extinguishing suns as it passed. The galaxy understood a terrible truth. The war was no longer about survival. It was about whether reality itself would remain unchanged. And as every species looked to humanity for salvation, a darker question lingered in their minds. If even humanity fears this thing, who or what could possibly stop it? The galaxy was on the edge of collapse. The Primarch's awakening sent shockwaves through every known star system, bending space, twisting time, and unraveling the laws of physics themselves. Entire worlds disappeared overnight, not destroyed, but erased as though they had never existed. On the bridge of the oblivion, Admiral Helena Voss stared at the data feeds, her expression grim. Thousands of Terran ships floated in formation around her, but even the infamous human fleets seemed fragile compared to this impossible threat. Serena Ward appeared on the holoscreen, her face pale. Every calculation leads to the same outcome, she said quietly. The Primarch cannot be fought by weapons. It's beyond firepower, beyond fear. It doesn't just kill, it rewrites reality. Voss closed her eyes for a long moment before speaking. Then we don't fight it with weapons. She looked up, determination hardening her voice. We fight it with what created the Revenant in the first place. Our minds. Gasps filled the coalition channel as the meaning of her words sank in. Commander Zern's claws dug into his console. You mean more sacrifices? How many human lives would that cost? As many as it takes, Voss said without hesitation. Because if the Primarch wins, there will be no life left to save. Orders were given. Across all Terran fleets, a chilling announcement went out, protocol ascension. One by one, soldiers, captains, engineers, thousands of humans aboard their ships, volunteered to merge their consciousnesses, forming a mind far greater than anything before. The Revenant had been terrifying. This would be something far beyond it. The coalition watched in stunned silence as human ships began to glow with searing white light. Voices, millions of them, echoed across comm channels, whispering words in unison, a vow of protection that made every living being shiver. The fleets dissolved into energy, streams of human essence, weaving together into a colossal being of light and thought, the Ascendant. The Primarch stirred, noticing the threat. Space warped as the ancient entity turned its impossible gaze on humanity's last hope. Reality fractured, stars flickered and died. The Ascendant roared, not with sound, but with the combined will of a species that refused extinction. The clash shook the galaxy. Where the Revenant had been terrifying, the Ascendant was divine, battling the Primarch not with weapons, but by rewriting existence in return. Space twisted, time reversed and folded, physics broke apart under their conflict. Alien fleets across the galaxy watched as entire constellations shifted with every strike. Finally, in a burst of light brighter than any sun, the Ascendant and the Primarch collided, locking together in a final act of defiance. A deafening silence followed. The stars reappeared. The Primarch was gone, but so was humanity's great fleet. All that remained were fragments of Terran ships, drifting lifelessly in a single message whispered across every comm channel in the galaxy. We are not gone. We are part of the stars now. If darkness returns, so will we. The war was over for now, but the galaxy would never forget that on the day reality itself was at risk, humanity burned everything it was and became something far greater, to keep the stars alive.